Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my safest players to draft, version number 2. I already did this video like 2 months ago, and I wanted to update it and talk about some more players that I feel very, very safe with drafting based upon their current ADP in fantasy football for 2021. In this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 total players. We're going to be talking about 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end in this video that, again, I feel very, very safe drafting where they're going right now based upon current underdog ADP. So if you guys do end up enjoying this video and want to see more fantasy football content from yours truly, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you are new. I would really appreciate it, and you're going to enjoy it because you guys are going to hopefully win your 2021 fantasy football league off of the advice that I give you, and I love to answer down below in the comment section. So if you ever have any questions, I always try to make sure to get back to you guys within about a day of you leaving your comment. So make sure to leave a comment down below, and if you're not new, make sure to hit the like button. I know that is a lot for you guys to do, but it really does help me out a ton, and hopefully I help you guys out in return. So let's get into it. The first safest player to draft is probably one of the easiest ones that you could guess, and that is running back Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans. Throughout this video, I don't just talk about early round draft picks, so this one is the earliest player going by far in fantasy football drafts. Based upon current underdog ADP, Derrick Henry is pick 3.5, so he's basically running back 3 or 4 off the board depending on your league. He typically goes after guys like Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook, but around a guy like Saquon Barkley, like Alvin Kamara, like Jonathan Taylor, in that range of running back. So last year in 15 games, Derrick Henry absolutely demolished for fantasy football, finishes running back 3 in PPR, 2.5 PPR, as well as running back number 1 in standard. Even with Derrick Henry basically having no hands when it comes to catching the ball, they throw the ball his way, and the guy basically just has a shit slide down the side of his pants because he is nervous, his knees are weak, his arms are heavy like Eminem, and he literally just has no idea how to fully grasp the football. But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem to matter at all, because even with such low targets and such low receiving volume that we're going to be talking about in a couple of minutes, it does not matter at all, because Derrick Henry, regardless of if it's PPR, half PPR, or standard, is still going to be able to carry your team on the back of the fact that he can just run the ball so effectively, averaging 20.8 PPR points per game, 20.2 half PPR points per game, and 19.6 standard points per game. He's basically the only running back going this high in fantasy football, where the difference between PPR, half PPR, and standard is so close, strictly based upon the fact that, like I said, he just does not really have that receiving volume, and it's not really the fact that he's on the Tennessee Titans, because I think regardless of the team, regardless of where he is, he would not be seeing too much receiving volume. Now, there is a narrative going around that Derrick Henry has been working on his pass catching abilities, that maybe this season he's going to be able to catch the ball more effectively, and I hope that ends up happening, and I hope that he's able to catch, or maybe even get like 40 targets on a season, but I don't think we're going to end up seeing that. But even if we don't end up seeing him get an uptick in targets, the guy is just ultra safe. From a points per game perspective, Derrick Henry was running back 4 in PPR, 4.5 PPR, as well as running back number 4 in standard, again, only missing 1 game last season. King Derrick Henry, Henry 2K, Derrick 2K, whatever you want to call him, ran for 2,000 yards last year. 2,000 yards. 2,027 rushing yards last year, number 1 at running back. That is 126.7 rushing yards per game. That is so crazy. He had 378 carries, number 1 at the running back position. He also had 31 targets, 19 receptions, 46th highest at running back for 114 receiving yards, 61st at the running back position, and 17 total tugs, 2nd highest at the running back position. So again, even with only 31 targets, which is about 1.9 per game, ranking 38 at running back, he still finishes as a top 3 running back in all formats. It's because his red zone touches are so high, 65 red zone touches, about 4.1 per game, 2nd highest at running back. It's because when you put the ball in Derrick Henry's hands, this guy is just going to run the ball just so easily. 4.9 true yards per carry. 4th highest at running back, 5.4 normal yards per carry. He had 112 evaded tackles last season, 7.0 per game. 7.0 evaded tackles per game. Just think about how crazy that is. And these numbers are from playerprofiler.com if you wanted to check that out. 21 breakaway runs last season, number 1 at running back. This guy is an absolute menace to the defense. You just hand him the ball, and he just walks up the field with such efficiency, and no one can stop him. You can't tackle this big behemoth of a man that's name is Derrick Henry. This guy is 6'3", 247 pounds of pure and utter man. This guy is a beast. And now they added Julio Jones to this offense, which makes me think that Derrick Henry now has even more opportunity to score, because the Tennessee Titans offense with Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, and Julio Jones, the passing attack is just going to be assaulting the defense. And then all you have to do, once you get that far up the field in like 4 plays, because A.J. Brown and Julio Jones can stretch the field so well, you hand the ball to Derrick Henry, and this guy has like 57 touchdowns at the end of the year. Derrick Henry is super duper safe, and this addition of Julio Jones makes him even safer, in my opinion. Next up, we have a tight end whose name has been rising. Now, this guy is not one of those... isn't one of those household names, right? A guy like Travis Kelce, a guy like George Kittle that everyone knows. And we're not even talking about Darren Waller today. We're talking about TJ Hockenson. And the reason why TJ Hockenson is going to be so safe in 2021, like a Trojan condom, is because this guy is going to be seeing so many targets for the Detroit Lions. Obviously, they lost Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones in the offseason. They also ended up losing their quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Name a wide receiver on the Detroit Lions right now in your head and try to figure out if you can figure one out. Try to think of a wide receiver. I'll give you a couple of names. They got Tyrell Williams. They've got Quintez Cephas. They've got Rashad Perryman. They've got Amon St. Brown. They got Geronimo Allison. Those are a couple of names that you may know that play wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. Are any of those guys as good at catching the football as TJ Hockenson? To be honest with you, I don't think so. I think that TJ Hawkinson's ADP right now at 60.8 is a complete and utter steal due to how safe this guy's going to be. In 16 games last year, Mr. TJ Hockenson finishes tight end 5 in PPR, 4.5 PPR, as well as number 5 in standard, averaging 11 PPR points per game, 8.9 half PPR points per game, and 6.8 standard points per game. 0.1 off of being very nice. I like. From a points per game perspective, he was tight end 6 in PPR, tied with Robert Tonyan and Logan Thomas, tight end 7.5 PPR, tied with Mike Licky Amagasiki and tight end number 8 in standard. And now he has lost his other, competition in this offense. The other guys are gone. Again, Galladay's gone. Marvin Jones is gone. This wide receiver core is going to be led, in my opinion, by DeAndre Swift and TJ Hockenson. Those are the 2 best wide receivers on the team. One of them plays running back, and the other plays tight end. This team's defense sucks complete and utter ass. They are so fucking bad. The defense is going to be obliterated by other offenses, which is good for TJ Hockenson because he is a tight end. He is going to be getting receptions later in the game when Jared Goff and friends in Detroit are trying to crawl their way back into the game. TJ Hockenson is going to be so involved throughout the game that to me it's almost a no-brainer that this guy is completely and ultra safe. He had 101 targets last year, 6.3 per game, number 5 at the tight end position, 67 receptions, 4th highest at the tight end position, 723 receiving yards, 3rd highest at the tight end position, and 6 total touchdowns on the season, 9th at the tight end position. So this guy was very solid last year, coming off of a pretty solid rookie season in 2019. Now, it wasn't necessarily solid because he really only had 2 games where he really ended up flourishing, right? Where we saw the full potential. But last year, he was much more consistent. And I think in 2021, we see an even more consistent version of TJ Hockenson just based on the target volume. That is really why I see him being so safe. I don't necessarily say that TJ Hockenson is the next greatest NFL tight end. Now, he could be, obviously, and that's what the Detroit Lions were looking for when they drafted him in the 1st round in 2019 at the 8th overall pick. But again, it's all about the target volume and the team that he is on. If a team is going to be down late in games and they don't have any wide receivers, then the tight end on that team, in that system, is going to flourish, especially if the tight end has the skill set of a guy like TJ Hockenson. Coming out of college, his workout metrics, this guy had a 92nd percentile catch radius, 88th percentile agility score, 90th percentile burst score, 74th percentile 40-yard dash, and a 77th percentile speed score. TJ Hockenson is built in a fucking lab for this Detroit Lions Lions team. I really believe in how safe TJ Hockenson is going to be in 2021. And I think a lot of people are going to miss out on TJ Hockenson basically based on the narrative that he's not a household name. He's not a guy even like Mark Andrews, who in my opinion is a household name at this point. Same thing goes with Darren Waller. I think Hockenson is going to get underdrafted. People are going to try to draft a guy like Andrews ahead of him. I agree with drafting Waller ahead of him, but not with Mark Andrews. I think that TJ Hockenson is definitely going under the radar right now, and it is going to be time in August to make that pick, and you're going to be very, very happy with selecting TJ Hockenson in like the 5th or 6th round of your 2021 fantasy football draft. We're about 10 minutes into this video, so if you guys have been enjoying thus far, we're down to 3 players left in this video. If you ended up enjoying, like I said, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you're new, and if you are not new, make sure to hit that like button. Again, it really does help me out a ton. It makes my videos go higher in the algorithm so that more people can watch it. So if you like my videos, please try to help me out and do that. Again, I try not to ask for too much, even though at the beginning of this video, I basically gave you guys an infomercial on what to do. So back into the content, obviously not trying to take out too long to spew a bunch of bullshit. So next up, we got Allen Robinson, wide receiver of the Chicago Bears. He is going higher than TJ Hockenson, underdog ADP 33.2. Obviously, Allen Robinson is a wide receiver of the Chicago Bears. In 16 games last year, Mr. Allen Robinson finished as wide receiver 9 in PPR, 11.5 PPR, and wide receiver number 12 in standard, averaging 16.4 PPR points per game, 13.2 half PPR points per game, and 10.1 standard points per game. From a points per game perspective, he was wide receiver 13 in PPR, 15 half PPR, and wide receiver number 17 in standard. Now, the biggest thing that I always like to talk about with Allen Robinson, and I was talking about last year with Allen Robinson, is the fact that this guy has done so much in his NFL career since being drafted in 2014. He has played with such shit quarterbacks, and it has not affected his NFL numbers in the slightest. He's put up big numbers with Blake Bortles. He's done it last season with not with Andy Dalton. That's going to be this season with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. Last year, it was with 9-inch Nick Foles and Kissin' Titties Trubisky. Now, this season, like I said, it's Fields and it's Dalton. I don't know how many games we are going to see of Fields. I don't know how many games we're going to see of Dalton. If it's going to be Fields all season, if it's going to be Dalton for a couple of weeks, and then they realize, hey, we should probably we should probably play Justin Fields, who, you know, we drafted so highly. We want to see him go. We traded up for him in the draft, so we want to see him. I would assume that's how it works, and we don't see Andy Dalton all season, but frankly, it does not fucking matter who the quarterback is, because like I said, Allen Robinson is putting up these big numbers with subpar quarterbacks at the NFL level, and he's still able to play so big in these games, even with the ball not necessarily being put in the spot where Allen Robinson would like it to be. And I think that with Justin Fields in the lineup, I think we should see half the year with Justin Fields. Now, again, maybe that's wrong and Fields doesn't play at all. That could be completely true, but it seems like nowadays these rookie quarterbacks are being inserted forcefully into the lineup. So my thought process is that Fields should be playing at least half the games, and even if he doesn't, I still like Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson last season had 151 targets, third highest at the wide receiver position for 9.4 targets per game. He had a total of 102 receptions, fourth highest at the wide receiver position, 1,200 receiving yards, 1,250, eighth highest at the wide receiver position, and 6 total touchdowns, 24th highest at the wide receiver position. His catchable target rate was 82.1%, 23rd highest at the wide receiver position. His target quality rating was 5.9, 36th highest at wide receiver. And I would think with Justin Fields, his catchable target rate and his target quality rating would end up going up as well, because the ball will actually be thrown correctly to Allen Robinson. I think this Bears offense should be relatively solid with the rookie quarterback under center. I think a lot of people aren't necessarily understanding just how good Allen Robinson is, because he's never really a top 5 guy, right, in fantasy football. He'll probably just be a top 12 guy, but when you can find him at pick 33.2, you're going to be relatively happy with the upside that Allen Robinson produces in this offense for the Chicago Bears. So I feel very, very safe drafting Allen Robinson where he is going right now. Next up, we have a guy that isn't even the starting running back on his team, but he is ultra safe, and that is running back Kareem Hunt of the Cleveland Browns. Underdog ADP 59.9. 11.2. Now, last year, Kareem Hunt was a guy that I was beating the drum for, that I was screaming from the mountaintops for you to draft Mr. Kareem Hunt, and it ended up paying dividends. In 16 games last year, Kareem Hunt finished as running back 10 in PPR, as well as in half PPR, and standard running back 10 in all formats, averaging 13.7 PPR points per game, 12.5 half PPR points per game, and 11.3 standard points per game, meaning from a points per game perspective, he was running back 22 in PPR, 21 in half PPR, and running back 20 in standard. Now, some of these numbers are carried by the fact that 9-inch Nicholas Chubb ended up getting hurt last season and missed a bunch of games. But still, even with Nick Chubb in the lineup, Kareem Hunt is going to be the guy seeing the pass-catching volume in this offense. While Nick Chubb, in my opinion, is a very capable pass-catching running back in the NFL, we've seen it before Kareem Hunt was there, and in the 8 games that Kareem Hunt was suspended in 2019, we saw a whole lot of pass-catching volume for Nick Chubb, but frankly, it seems like Kevin Stefanski wants to use Kareem Hunt in those scenarios. Which makes sense, because Kareem Hunt is technically a better pass-catching running back. How much better? Not by that much, but again, they have 2 running backs, so you might as well use both of them. Last year, Mr. Kareem Hunt had a grand total of 198 carries, 11th highest at the running back position for 841 rushing yards, 15th highest at running back. He had 51 targets, 38 receptions, 304 receiving yards, and 11 total touchdowns on the season. So again, Kareem Hunt is basically, a lot of people call Kareem Hunt a handcuff, which I think is basically the most idiotic statement you can make in fantasy football, because how the fuck is he a handcuff if he's getting drafted so high, right? He's the 59th overall pick. Handcuffs, they go at pick like 90 plus. Kareem Hunt is not a handcuff. If Nick Chubb was to go down, Kareem Hunt is basically a league-winning fucking running back that you can find at pick 59.2. But if Nick Chubb stays healthy, knock on wood is what we hope, then Kareem Hunt is still a very solid flex option every single week, and a guy you can put in your running back 2 slot. And if things go right in the game, Kareem Hunt can easily outscore Nick Chubb on any given week. This offense is high-powered with a rushing offense. Kevin Stefanski, head coach of the Cleveland Browns, loves to run the ball down the defense's throat. And why not run the ball when you have 2 fucking elite running backs behind Baker Mayfield, when you have Chubb and Kareem Hunt? To me, it's a no-brainer that Mr. Kareem Hunt is going to be safe yet again in 2021. And final safe play is Cole Beasley. So Cole Beasley, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills, underdog ADP 122.9. This guy last season was one of the reasons why my dynasty team was so good, because every single week, without a doubt, Cole Beasley is one of the best flexes in fantasy football, because even as a slot wide receiver, a lot of people like to do what we call a slot shame, where they shame you for being the slot wide receiver because you're not the alpha guy on the team, right? Stephon Diggs is the guy where they take all the pictures of him. He's the cool receiver on the team. Cole Beasley is basically the cuck playing fucking slot, but he still ends up putting up pretty solid numbers. In 15 games, finishes wide receiver 27 in PPR, 26.5 PPR, and 31 in standard, averaging 13.8 PPR points per game, 11.1 half PPR points per game, and 8.4 standard points per game. From a points per game perspective, he was wide receiver 31 in PPR, 32.5 PPR, and wide receiver number 35 in standard. So overall, Cole Beasley doesn't have those are not super numbers, right? Those are not league-winning numbers. But when you think about it, at pick 122.9, you can get a top 32 wide receiver. So why not pick him? Why not take him at that point? Because he is ultra safe. His target numbers are going to continue to be there as long as the Buffalo Bills are the potent offense that they were last season. 107 targets, 28th highest at the wide receiver position. 82 receptions, 18th highest at the wide receiver position. 967 receiving yards, 21st highest at wide receiver, and 4 total touchdowns, 48th highest at the wide receiver position. So that's what we see out of Cole Beasley. He's a very safe option because he just gets a lot of receptions in a Buffalo Bills offense that should be relatively good yet again. Now, I understand that Cole Beasley is far from a sexy pick because maybe his upside is limited, right? You're never really going to see Cole Beasley finish as a top 10 wide receiver, at least in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that he's not super safe and not a safe guy you can throw into your flex every single week and be relatively happy with Mr. Cole Beasley. I'm sure last season, no one was happy to draft Cole Beasley. No one wanted to pick up Cole Beasley because they know who Cole Beasley is. But at the end of the day, he was on a lot of rosters last season that ended up winning championships because of how safe he was. So let me know down below if you guys agree with me that these guys are safe, or are you worried about him? You think some of these guys might be unsafe, like a ripped condoms. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I love you guys all. Make sure that you stay safe. Have a great rest of your guys' day. What's today? Happy Monday, baby. I love you guys all. Make sure that you stay safe. Hope you had a good day at work today, even though I post this video while you're probably at work. I love you. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Stay safe. Goodbye.